There's always been something quietly radical about Substack as a publishing platform. When it started back in 2017, it felt like a genuine antidote to everything that was wrong with the internet. No ads, no algorithms, no chasing likes, no hustle. Just writers and readers connecting directly to each other one on one. You wrote something thoughtful. If people liked it, they would subscribe. And Substack would take a small cut, 10%. That was the deal. It was simple. So it gave independent creators and writers this space, like almost this utopian space to be sharp, to be personal, political, whimsical even, whatever they wanted to be without interference. Those, like our guest today, Anurag Minus Verma. Welcome to the show, Anurag. So happy to have you on
Thank you. Thank
Daybreak.
you so much, Snigdha, for inviting me to the show.
So, Anurag here has been using Substack exactly the way that it was meant to be, to build something that is honest, that is layered, funny, and totally his own. His newsletter, Culture Cafe, is not just about writing. It is critique, it is confession, observation, and in many ways, resistance. He writes about caste, cinema, society, and the subtle violence and absurdity of online life. And he does it with nuance and wit. Anurag is an interdisciplinary artist. He's the host of the very popular The Anurag Minus Verma podcast. He's the creator of the cult favorite Saubhagya series on Instagram and one of the sharpest observers of internet culture out there. He understands what it means to create within this system and also see through it. Actually, let me read out this excerpt from a recent edition of Culture Cafe, and I cannot recommend this newsletter enough. This is probably a better introduction to him than everything that I've said so far. He says, we live in the age of creators, not artists. The creator's job is to live happily and show the internet that they are having the best time of their lives. Even sadness has its place, but only if it can be monetized. And that line stuck with me. And it is exactly where today's conversation begins. Because Substack, the platform that was supposed to resist all of this, is now raising another $100 million from venture capitalists. There is talk of advertising, feeds are being redesigned. It is starting to look and feel quite familiar, like most of the social media platforms that we love to hate. So, the question that we will be exploring in this episode today is, can Substack survive the pressures of scale and still remain a true home for independent voices? Or is its enshittification, like every platform before it, now just a matter of time? Okay, Anurag, my first question to you. Tell us a little bit about your journey as an artist, writer, and creator on the internet that led you to Substack.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Snigdha. So I'll keep it very brief because journey is pretty long. So I'll just keep it very brief to the recent changes. So I was on Instagram since many years creating videos and everything. And earlier I used to put long videos, like I might put 7 minutes video, 8 minutes video, like 3 years ago when it was not exactly the real platform. So people used to watch. Like there was one of my diary on the ghost stories of Bhangar. It was a satirical
Yes.
take on it, and it was
Yeah.
7-8 minutes of video diary, and the views were in lakhs. So many
Yeah.
people used to watch it, and I also used to put midnight diaries and lot of content around. I mean, it was as good as any long form content on YouTube. It was not a short content, but suddenly Instagram changed the policies, and they decided now everything will be reels. Now there will be no IGTV. Earlier it was IGTV,
Yeah.
which was very similar to YouTube, and they said that now you have to say whatever you have to say in 60 seconds, and now you have to say whatever
Yeah.
you have to say only in this vertical format. So
Yeah.
your shooting style has to change. Like I normally shoot in the portrait mode, so that whole so everything changed. So initially I thought that as an artist, my job is to resist such kind of dictate by these
Yeah.
algorithms, and I decided that I'll continue what I'm doing, which is to post bigger videos and everything. But after 1 or 2 months, when there was like everybody left me, I felt like that because there was no
Right.
engagement, because obviously people then got addicted to 60 seconds, 70 seconds. So I decided that whatever I'm saying now, I have to say in 60 seconds, 70 seconds. So that was a challenge kind of thing, because for example, if you are telling a story in the in cinema format, then it becomes very challenging to tell the story in an advertisement format, for example,
True.
in
Yeah.
2 minutes of ad or 1.5 minute of ad. I mean, it's the both are different medium, obviously, cinema and any video ad, but
Yeah.
it sometimes it also become very interesting and challenging to see what can be the
Exactly. Yeah.
possibility of the
Yeah.
medium. So I started it, and then my views went into the millions and gained a
Mm.
lot of followers and everything. So that changed. So Substack, so that was my experience with the Instagram. And
Mm.
by that time I realized that it is very difficult. Like as a creator, you have to be pretty much ready for these kind of changes on
Yeah.
these platforms, because there is no other option. So then on Substack, I initially joined as a actually I was quite bored by the mainstream, the way in which mainstream publication post the articles, or the
Mm.
way in which they even seek what kind of information, what kind of data or point of view they want to seek. So it became very, very, limited. So my
Mm.
point was to start a vlog in a very old fashioned style, and just keep my work there. And if people are reading it, then it's fine. If nobody is reading, then it's also fine. Initially the idea was that.
And when was
uh,
this, Anurag? When did you
it's
join
very
Substack?
recent. I think it's just
Huh.
6, 7 months back.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
very recent. So that was the idea. Then suddenly I started, like, there was large rise in the subscriber, and the readers also grew, and like I can see the whole algorithm thing at play there. So I also
Mm.
got very excited by that whole
Yeah.
possibility. So I started writing more and more. And then I realized that the newsletter as a format has a lot of possibility, because it's a
Mm.
very direct and very intimate kind of a medium, where you are directly reaching to your readers. And the
Mm.
readers are also not like casual reader,
Or
casual
passive.
consumer of
Huh.
let's say Instagram, where your real on Instagram, for example, the following is doesn't matter that much. After that for you page, that where you uh, scroll the reel, and then you can randomly, through the grace of algorithm, encounter
Yeah.
something random.
Yeah.
So algorithm is now throwing some random accounts, random reels on it. So following is not that loyal in that sense. Like
Mm.
whatever is coming, I'm consuming. But Substack is more loyal and more close
And
networked and
intentional, right?
intentionally. And
Yeah.
so that is the most beautiful part of it. And recently I saw growth in it. And even when I was meeting people offline, there were many people who were saying that we really like your work. So I thought they like my video diaries and
Mm.
Instagram videos, because I've been making them for 3, 4, 4, 5 years. But
Yeah. Yeah.
strangely, there were many people who were saying that they really like my Substack, and Substack is something that they now consume more. So I was also surprised by the reception, because I thought there is not much of an audience for writing as such. But I was wrong about it. So that was my initial experience with Substack, and I really liked it. Later on, we can talk about the payment method and everything. Yeah.
Right, right. Like you joined at a very, like, obviously it was recent, like maybe this
Hmm.
year, later last year, right? Very interesting time to join the platform because the shift had already started, right? It had
Yeah.
money had already started coming in. Uh, Tell me first of all, like, how do you, as an artist and a creator, how do you look at all this money that is coming into this platform? That kind of gave you a space, right, to be like away from the noise of the internet.
I don't know what it means for the creator as of now,
Hmm.
because, for example,
Hmm.
I also create on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
So my podcast initially was primarily on Spotify, among many other medium, but Spotify was one of the main
Hmm.
platform. But Spotify doesn't pay Indian users anything. recently they started doing some fund and everything, but they had
Yeah.
very good funding till now, but they don't pay anything to
Yeah,
their
it's
users in India. But even outside of India, there are many artists. If you go through, internet pages and everything, so many are criticizing Spotify of
yeah.
paying
There's
so
like this.
less.
Yeah, there is like this very anti-Spotify sentiment that is going on. A
Yes,
lot of people are actually, leaving the platform.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
but something that I wanted to talk about was this community that you spoke about, right? Like you met people, and it took you by surprise that they actually were consuming. They like reading your newsletter,
Hmm.
and the whole point about Substack has been this community thing, right? And
Yeah.
even the last funding rounds that they did, like 2 years ago, like I said earlier, they raised $8 million only
Hmm.
from their own community, readers and writers, right? And the whole idea was like, we don't want to forgo our ethos, which makes us who we are. And then the next round, they had this funding round where they took money from like big shot investors,
Hmm.
but they were like, no, these are people like, a Naval Ravikant, right? These are
Yeah,
people
yeah, yeah.
who actually like, fit into our ecosystem and our beliefs, right? We'll
Hmm.
only take money from them. But now, $100 million from VC funds, right?
Hmm.
So this whole thing is changing. So uh, what do you think of this? What do you think of community and how it has made Substack what it is right now?
I mean, yeah, initially it was more about that. Even right now, there are many jokes on Substack. When I joined
Huh.
for 5 6 months ago, so
Yeah.
people were writing ki, this is the slow corner of the internet or something like this. That I have, and the
Yeah.
most of the posts were about how I quit social media, and they would write on Substack,
Mm.
and they would treat Substack as some kind of a calm vacation in some village area or something like that, which was very funny because they were very pretentious. Because Substack is
Right.
also social media. Right
Yeah.
after you post anything on Substack, you're very
Mm.
curious to see the reactions, how people are liking it. You go to
Mm.
analytic box and you see how
Mm.
many people have opened your newsletter, what are the stats, who is commenting, who is liking. So that was the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
funny aspect, a very romanticized version of Substack, I think, initially. So I never
Mm.
had it. I knew because that's how the world operates. Because initially you say you will do this and then you do something else. For example, like Kejriwal in Delhi said that I will only take Wagoner. Then he started roaming in some big cars and big houses. So
Yeah.
that's okay. Like in idealism transitioning into brute capitalism. I mean, that's how it happens in the world.
Yeah.
So that's how. But I'll give you a very interesting example of
Mm.
one of my friend Vimo. So Vimo was
Yeah.
one of the person who really guided me in this
Oh.
whole process of
Hmm.
joining Substack, how it works, and everything. He's one of the like Margdarshak bundle
Yes.
of Substack
Uh-huh.
user.
Uh-huh.
So
I
it's
see.
very like he knows everything about Substack. So
Okay.
his thing was that he had a very good follower count on Instagram. It was, I
Hmm.
think, more than 2 lakhs or something,
Hmm.
and the reach and everything was very high. But he was feeling that it's very shallow and it is, taking the his attention away, and there are a lot of distraction happening. He can't write better because of that whole
Hmm.
Instagram thing. So he was very serious about Substack.
Hmm.
And then when was he was very regular on Substack and everything, but then Substack introduced the video format, which is more like a TikTok kind of thing,
Yeah.
TikTok or Insta Reel, you can say,
Hmm.
kind of a
Hmm.
thing. And then he realized that same thing which I was doing on Instagram, now I have to do on Substack. So then finally he also has to leave Substack and then join some other vlog. So I don't know how
Oh, he's
how
he's
long
already quit. He's
he
already quit
quit
the platform.
Substack
Oh.
because of
Hmm.
that. So
Hmm.
he's one of like, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting, right? Like what you're describing and what's coming up constantly is that there is this growing sense of like unease, frustration with Instagram, with Twitter, and all of that. And like, do you think that the people on Substack are primarily like those people that are just exhausted of the constant kind of the doom scrolling, the reels, the mindlessness of social media, and are now here, and they're also then quickly turning this into like the knowledge Olympics and like Instagramifying knowledge in a
Yeah.
way, like on platforms like Substack. Sigda and I were talking about this yesterday, where like clearly there is a hunger for like knowledge and information, but at the same time, maybe like the only way of like doing it is this like, kind of like Instagramifying Substack in a way, right? Like you were
Yes.
talking
Yes.
about your friend
Yeah.
dropping off Substack. Have you seen that happen?
I call him digital refugee. So he's just trying to find a home since. So there is a thirst for knowledge, and knowledge Olympics is also very interesting point that Rahel used. So so people really want to. So there is a lot of chaos, the chaos of information on internet. So we are seeing so many videos. The culture is shifting, the politics and everything. So we really need curators in our time, but it's very difficult to find good writers, good curators who can make sense of this whole confusion and chaos. So people are really interested in understanding what is going on. So even on Instagram there are many, there are many people who make videos about what is happening in the culture and everything, which I don't find it. I mean, I don't find it that good because it's very much made for that algorithm touch and whatever is happening right now. There are very basic point of view that they repeat. But on Substack, it's interesting that you can expand whatever you are trying to say. Like you can go into longer arguments of like even for yourself. You can also it's also a medium of thinking out loud. So when you're writing something, you're also thinking something. So for me it becomes very interesting. That whole format become very interesting. For example, I wrote, so like last day today I published a post about understanding internet post irony through Himesh Reshamya. So if I post it on Substack, then I might reach like 6,000 reader or maybe 10,000 reader. But if I make a reel out of it, of the same thing, then I might reach in the millions. So now it's a choice of me as
Yeah.
a creator.
Yeah.
What do you want exactly? Do you want to reach millions of people on Instagram who are
Yeah.
not loyal, and even whatever you're saying will be totally diluted and for the algorithm, or you love writing that much, you love the beauty of the words and everything, that you want to write something even though it reaches maybe 10,000 people or 6,000 people, 7,000
Right.
people. So that is a tough choice one has to make. But for me it's very clear that I really want to write, not make reels of explainer reels of it, but write, because writing, there's a lot of scope for uncertainty and confusion as compared to an explainer video where the creator behave that they know everything. But when
Yeah.
I'm writing something, I'm also little bit confused and uncertain. I really like that vibe of Substack, or vibe of, let's say, writing your argument rather than making a reel out of it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of talked about this in your newsletter also, no? The one about doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Anurag, talking about this, like, do you think, as a writer, of course, you have already made this very difficult choice, right? But still, you are on these platforms. You are on Substack. You've joined at a time where the platform is already kind of shifting its nature. Do you find yourself kind of, you know, is there a change in your approach towards, say, Culture Cafe as a writer?
There is, initially when I started, there was most of, like, there was obviously love for writing and everything, but I was also writing a book at that time which I finished recently on internet culture. So
Can't
my
wait.
idea was also about practice the whole art of the writing so that I get into a flow. So for me, in that sense, Substack played a very big role because I was also practicing, and then because of that, I can get into a very good discipline of writing, and then it also helped me in writing fast, in writing clear. So that helped me in the book. So those things were also running parallelly. But for me, the change in the platform and everything, I'm not very concerned about it, to be very frank. Apart from the fact that Substack's problem, the biggest problem of the Substack is the payment method for Indian
Yeah.
users.
Yeah.
That is the only problem. Apart from that, even if it releases videos or everything, I'm not going to watch it personally. or I'm
Mm.
not going to make videos on Substack because I'm very much invested in watching absurd
Mm.
and random videos on Instagram, and I don't have
Right.
mental bandwidth to shift to another platform.
Right.
So I'm yeah.
So speaking about payment method, can you, Anurag, can you tell our listeners like what is it like? What is the business model like? Yeah, on Substack.
Yeah. So Substack. Uh, on Substack, you can offer membership to your readers, which is basically a paywall kind of a thing. So you can, I think you can $5 is the minimum, but you may go up than that and something like that. So $5 I think is minimum. So that membership option are there, and then you can access their paid newsletter and paid post and everything. So there were many Indian users who were totally dependent on this method. But recently, Stripe made a very unusual decision that they are not going to work in India. So they
Yes.
stopped their services. And because of that, almost everybody in India,
Hmm.
like so many users, lost their subscription, and heavy loss of uh, revenue generated
Yeah.
through Substack and even also other mediums, because Stripe was banned, not banned, but
Hmm.
Stripe was Stripe withdrew from India. And the
Yes.
Stripe is a payment platform, and
Mm-hmm.
there were many platforms which were connected with Stripe. So Substack was one of them. So because of that, no Indian user or
Hmm.
no Indian Substack creator can now offer any paid
Yeah.
membership. So because of
Hmm.
that, there are very limited or very less chances to earn on Substack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if there was a payment option on it, then maybe even me as a writer could have earned a lot and could
Yeah.
have made writing my one of my primary livelihood. But
Hmm.
that's not possible. So there is a
Right.
complete policy failure in that for any
Yeah.
independent creators in India because of that.
Got it.
And not
Uh.
just this, there
Hmm.
is another
Hmm.
problem as well, which is
Hmm.
the because of the RBI guidelines,
Hmm.
there are the failure of that recurring payment thing is very,
Yeah.
very high.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
because of that, many not just Substack, but I think many news organizations also are
Also,
facing
yeah, even
big crisis
we
because of that.
suffered, even
Yes,
the
yes.
Ken suffered because of this. Yeah. Yeah, but speaking about Indian Substack users, can you tell us a little bit about creators and subscribers here in India? Substack users, what is the ecosystem like over here right now?
The first thing I do is whenever I see any post by Indian user, I just mute it, because they are they are just doing the same engagement farming that they do on Twitter,
Hmm.
romanticism or chai, romanticism, weather,
Hmm.
pakoda, whatever. So I just mute it, and then I try to read something which is not done for the engagement farming. Because if I'm on Substack, I'm just coming there not to hear somebody's random thought, or not to
Hmm.
hear somebody's just random musing,
Yeah,
but
it's.
something which is substantial from
Mm-hmm.
my experience. So that is one of the problem with many users in India. So
Right.
because that
Hmm.
whole idea of engagement farming and not putting too much emphasis on the craft of writing or developing a skill
Hmm.
or chasing the easy virality has become one of the trademark of our digital universe. So everybody is
Right.
chasing that easy virality rather than providing
Hmm.
anything which is of substance to the
Hmm.
to their audience. So which is one of the biggest problem I see in India.
So basically, Indian users, most of them are using Substack as any other social media platform.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
And I think it's a very important thing to understand what is the purpose of each medium. For
Hmm.
example, I'm I have consciously decided to put a different personality on different mediums. So my
Hmm.
Twitter would be different, little different than what is my Instagram is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Instagram is more absurd, more random, because that's the kind of platform that it is. On
Right.
Twitter, I might write political thing,
Hmm.
political opinion, because
Hmm.
that's the kind of medium that is. On
Yeah.
YouTube, I'll make long form, very artistic essays, because that gives a space for you to create there. So on
Hmm.
Substack, I'll be little more serious, or on let's say podcast also. It's a different approach to creating.
Hmm.
So every medium, like that classic quote by Marshall McLuhan, the medium is
Hmm.
message. So every medium
Yeah.
has a certain kind of a personality, and we have to also
True.
respect that, I guess.
Yeah, like I think so. Then maybe in India, Substack has not reached that. I don't know what to call it, if maturity is the right word. Because like in the US, for example, Substack became like a really important place
Yes,
for
yes,
political discourse and like this whole post Twitter world, right? Like for both
yes,
sides, of course. I mean, there are a lot of cases where like a lot of right wing fundamentalists,
yes, yes.
conservatives, yeah, that was
So
also happening. But like
there was
during
also an article, the Substack has a Nazi problem.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. In the name of freedom of speech, yeah, that
Hmm.
was the thing. But and that's how all these people also got so popular, and Substack also got popular because all these people like Nate Silver, this political analyst, he's a statistician. Like he got really popular during the U.S. elections because of his podcasts. Then so many other legacy media journalists who were done with their channels and their publishing houses wherever they were working, they got on and became like independent
Hmm.
on Substack, right? So there was a purpose there that Substack was serving,
But
whereas in
but
India it doesn't seem to be the case,
no,
no.
but Snigdha, you have to also understand that every cultural trend comes after let's say 8 or 9 years. For example, the podcasts were very
Hmm.
famous in
Correct.
US.
Yeah.
Maybe it started from 2009 or 10. It started
Hmm.
becoming very famous. So here
True.
the podcast boom came almost after 9, 10 years. So
True.
even same for the Substack thing, I think it will change. But the two problems are there. One is obviously the payment thing. So there is no
Hmm.
incentive as such to
Hmm.
be on Substack for any Indian user. The second problem, as I mentioned earlier, like if you want to put your thought to the public,
Yeah.
then the easiest way is to make a video of it. Or
Hmm.
even if you're not making any, let's say, instant kind of a shallow video, even if you're making a
Hmm.
good video, then also you
Hmm.
can make on YouTube, like you can make a 7 8 minute of video explaining things, right?
Hmm.
So why
Hmm.
write? Because writing is very
Yeah.
difficult work. There's a lot of things going on in writing. Like if I have to write something, it will take me 2 days of thinking that whole thing, then it takes me 2 more days of writing that whole thing. But as I said earlier, despite investing so much on it, I might reach a very limited section of people,
Correct.
which I can 10 times or 20 times if I
Yeah.
make a reel or
Who
video out of
actually
it. So
read.
it's a big
Yeah. There are
question,
also
ki,
very
why
few
should
people who actually
somebody
read. Yeah.
write? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. True. True. True.
So that, I think, but one thing is that I also consider myself very privileged in that sense, that I have some
Hmm.
time to, because of the kind of the audience I built over the year and everything.
Hmm.
They also pay me money through Patreon, through Buy
Yeah.
Me a Coffee and other medium. So I'm in a very relaxed zone. So like I don't have to go out tomorrow for the work, or
Hmm.
I don't have to think that much of, you know, 10 or 20 different things. I can focus on what I'm creating, and I can be assured that there are people who like what I'm creating. So because of that, I can invest that time. But I don't think this particular privilege most of the people has. So they
Yeah.
are, because of that, they are looking for some way to earn quickly, or some way
Huh,
to get
huh,
famous
huh.
quickly. So I can also understand that whole aspect.
Yeah, yeah, but for people who are more like towards your the way you approach writing and your art, right? What about them? I Do you think like a good way to go about things is to diversify, like you are, like you said, you have multiple sources like Patreon, Buy Me Coffee.
Hmm.
Is that like really important? Is that the advice that you would give?
I mean, both in terms of payment. Yeah, obviously, in terms of payment method, one has to, like I was also on Razor Pay. So Razor
Hmm.
Pay onboarding is also extremely tough. It
Yeah.
takes 2 3 months to get
Mm,
permissions, and you have to refill the form. And then
mm,
when the Razor Pay was active, they closed it, saying that you are taking donation. I said it's not donation, it's subscription. Then I have to explain them again. So these payment methods and everything are very complicated in India. All of
mm, mm,
payment method. So that is one thing, but obviously that whole diversification of payment method is also important, because one day there is a possibility that Razorpay closes your account, or maybe Patreon, because of some reason, changes its policy that they don't allow Indian users, something like anything can happen. So one has to be sure about that. The second thing is that diversification of the content is
Yeah.
also useful for the audience to cater to different kind of audience, but also as an artist, it makes life more interesting. Like, I'll be very bored if I do only podcast, because podcast is boring after a point of time. So but
Thanks.
so I mean, it's boring. So that is the thing. I just keep doing a lot of things, because to
Hmm.
just save myself from this
Yeah.
ultimate boredom of life. So
Right.
that is one of the reason. I also make YouTube videos. I also make documentaries, podcasts, Substack. Everything is a lot of things are going on, because I also want to explore my limits, my creativity. And yeah, and you also get very different kind of audiences through all these medium, because it's very interesting that there are many people on Instagram that don't know that I have a podcast also. There are many people on YouTube, like there are comments like, ये बंदा करता क्या है, पूरे दिन घूमता ही रहता है क्या, ऐसे कमेंट आते हैं. So I said, then some people tell them, no, he also has a serious podcast and everything. There are many
Yeah.
people who consume my podcast, they don't know I make funny videos.
Right.
So
Right.
I also like it. It's
It's
fun to
an
confuse
interesting
people.
challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also fun to confuse them and keep them guessing.
Right.
So
But
yeah.
if we had to go to the other side of this whole argument, right, Anurag, like what basically the founders of Substack, for example, how they are justifying this kind of shift, right, towards ads, towards like more becoming more like a social media platform. They're saying like these tools can actually empower our users. Do you think that is a possibility? Is that real? Can it?
I don't think so, because Substack currently is a perfect medium for a newsletter, for
Mm,
whatever the idea of the founder was. So Substack is already perfect, except obviously the Indian thing of the Stripe payment and
hmm,
everything.
hmm,
Otherwise,
hmm.
it's a perfect medium. Like, you can write, the kind of tools it has. It makes writing, publishing so easy. You can
Hmm.
add buttons. You can add photographs so easily. So Substack, in that sense, in purely in terms of UI UX, it's a perfect already. So there is
Yeah.
there is you don't need. I don't know why you need 100 crores more, because it's already perfect. So that old quote,
Right.
like, don't fix what ain't broken.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, but
Right.
now the problems
Hmm.
for people who are really, like, for example, my friend Vimo,
Hmm.
like, for
Hmm.
them who really want to want a space which is distraction free, for them it is going to be very difficult, because if they are investing so much of money, then
Yeah.
Substack has to give them reports every month or
Correct.
quarterly or whatever, ki how
Right.
many users they have gained, what is their
True.
average view
Yeah.
duration, what is their average stay on the
Hmm.
website and everything. And for to increase that, they have to push videos, they have to push other
Yeah.
mechanism, because Substack is not a very live platform. For example, if I put a tweet on internet, let's say
Yeah.
on Twitter, if I explain this for Himesh Reshamian post or anything on
Yeah.
internet, it's a very live platform. Like, within 5 minutes I'll
Correct.
get so many reactions, so many
Yeah.
this thing. So it is, there is some kind of a rush in it. So I'll be very
Hmm.
addicted to Twitter, because there is so
Correct.
much going on every
Hmm.
minute, actually, to see the reaction, everything.
Hmm.
But on
Hmm.
Substack, if I put my post, then maybe in 4 hours I'll get some reaction, maybe in 6 hours I'll get some reaction.
Hmm.
It is like old email kind of a
Hmm.
style. So their reactions are very slow, and because of that, I'm not that addicted to Substack. But now they
Hmm.
will do something to get me addicted. They will do, make it more addictive, as all social
Exactly.
medias are. So that
Yeah.
is the biggest danger. But then it won't remain that kind of platform, and there is a very big chance that it may be just another generic
So you think
platform. Yeah.
right, right, right. So basically, the whole enshittification thing, right, that
Hmm.
we spoke about, basically where, a platform first it starts off great for users and creators, then slowly it becomes less fun, less enjoyable, less substantial, because it becomes focused on maximizing profit, right? So Substack, it's inevitable with the way Substack is going, you think?
I think technically it will become so. That is the whole thing. For example, there are if you study the club culture of, let's say, Berlin. So
Hmm.
some club or some music festival comes up, then
Yeah.
everybody goes there because it's very niche. Not many people know about it, and there
Right.
is a very strong pride of going to that club because it's
Uh-huh.
underground, it's niche, and
Yeah.
then the community is very strong because
Mm-hmm.
it's the people are less, but they are very committed to that. But then
Mm-hmm.
after a point of time, you realize that many people have joined in and everything. So people then feel that what is the point? So they then find new niche. Then maybe new underground club will open somewhere, and then they move towards that. So this is how it happens. Even in India, there are music festival which started as very niche kind of a music festival.
True.
Not many people
Yeah.
know about it. Later on, they become totally mainstream and commercialized, so they attract a very different kind of crowd, and then these people shift to another place. So that's how culture shifts one platform to another, and one should be completely ready for it.
Hmm.
तो like how Modi ji said that हम तो फकीर आदमी है जी, झोला उठा के चल लेंगे. So this is a good approach on internet. Like if there is
So
some
on that
platform that
note, on that note, like, would do you think like you would also jhola uta ke chalo from Substack
See,
if it becomes too much?
Substack gives you a very good jhola because you can take your users along with you. It gives a list of CSV list of all the
Ah,
subscriber, all the email address that you have. So that is very one good thing
that
about
is
it.
a
I don't
great
know it
thing.
will.
Yeah.
I don't know it will continue or not, but that is one of the very good thing that you have the control of your email,
Hmm.
control of the users who are reading you. So
Right.
maybe then you
Right.
can shift. Like YouTube doesn't give you that. YouTube will never
Huh.
give you the user list, your member list. So I also have
Yeah.
membership on YouTube,
Hmm.
paid membership. So they won't give me the list of who are the members that joined it. But Substack gives me that. So it is
Yeah.
giving me jhola and saying that if you want, you can
Go.
leave.
But the question is, where will you go? What is the alternate? Is the
Maybe something
question.
new will come up after a point of time.
Hmm.
Something
Hmm.
like it's like Blue Smart gone. Now there is Uber Black,
Right.
Chauffeur. Something new
Yeah.
will come. One has to be
Correct.
ready for it because these mediums are very temporary kind of a
Hmm.
setup. So you don't know. Like it's like if you go to Connaught Place, there are people selling item. अचानक कोई बोलता पुलिस आ गई. Then you see there is nothing. कुछ था ही नहीं पहले. So
Like,
these
was it
mediums are
even
also
there?
like that. हाँ
Yeah.
पॉजिटिव अंदर यहाँ कौन था कोई
Yeah.
बेच भी रहा था बहुत लोग खड़े थे कस्टमर भी बहुत थे यहाँ कोई बेच भी रहा था
Right.
कोई नहीं है so that whole idea of temporality
Yeah.
is also the hallmark of not just these medium but of internet itself.
Hmm.
इतने सारे प्लेटफॉर्म्स आए इतने सारे प्लेटफॉर्म गए और
Hmm.
so ये सब I think it is a part of internet which is also exciting thing about it because there is nothing which is very permanent but it is
Yeah.
also for some people might be very
Just like life,
yeah
guys.
just like life so it's good so that is one of the reason I post most of my things on story. I post very less on feed because story is
Yeah.
like it you just have 24 hours of commitment to things then it's gone
Mm-hmm.
so it is
True.
yeah.
Right. All right. On that note, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation, Anurag. Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of the Ken, India's first subscriber focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber only offerings.
A full subscription unlocks daily long form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. Head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the Ken website.
Today's episode was hosted and produced by Rahil Philippos and I, Snigdha Sharma, and it was edited by Rajiv Sien.